Hello, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to address several questions that we get every year regarding the holidays and how to respond to people. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Guys, please do me a big favor and watch this entire video before you make any judgment calls, because you can easily get offended if you don't see the whole thing. So you need to watch the whole thing in order to understand everything that I am saying. Thank you. Okay, because we live in a world that celebrates the pagan holidays. That's just the way it is. The word says to be in the world, but not of the world. So all that means is we are set apart. We are different than the world. But that doesn't mean that you have to look totally crazy and psychotic. That doesn't mean you have to be a jerk. In fact, that is discouraged. We are not to be rude. We are not to be jerks. We're to keep our heads down. We're to keep quiet in the world and not raise hell. That's not what we're supposed to do. There is a balance, right? Okay, you're not a pushover, right? A pushover would, though he has the understanding of what pagan holidays are, because people want him to do those holidays, he will be easily swayed into doing them. That's what a pushover does. We're not supposed to be pushovers. However, we're also not supposed to be rude, jerks, raising hell, whatever. We are to be quiet and kind, courteous, the fruits of the Spirit, guys. I know a lot of people are frustrated because they've come out of the church, they were raised a certain way to believe that the church had all the answers, only to find out that they were lied to, and that hurts. There will be a process you have to go through of forgiveness and healing from that. But that does not make it right to act crazy anytime somebody asks you questions about the holidays. So I'm going to answer several questions for you to help you think about them and think about your actions ahead of time, because it will be a lot easier for you to think about these now rather than waiting until you're in line at the cash register and the cashier is asking you all these questions and you have no idea how to respond, what to think about, and you may actually say something stupid or look like a total psycho. So these are questions that we get every year from those who are new, who have just come out of the church and are taking on a more Messianic understanding, Jewish understanding, and I'm going to address those right now to help you guys out. Question number 1. Do I accept gifts or candy from Halloween or from people who are giving gifts for Christmas? Let me just pause right there because I know some people are going to take this out of context. I am just addressing situations on a one-on-one basis. So for example, if a family member or a friend hands you a gift or gives your kids candies because of Halloween and they say happy Halloween, whatever, and you know it's for Halloween or Christmas, these are the situations I am talking about. I am not saying that it's okay to accept gifts by going to a Christmas party or handing out or receiving candies by going trick-or-treating. Definitely not okay. Okay, moving on. You know, when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty, it's just candy or it's just a gift, right? I mean, it's just something that was made by a person. You know, we just because labels have been put on it doesn't make it anything special, really. It can be special because of the person who gave it to you, but really, if your mother wants to give your children gifts for Christmas and you completely shove her off and you say rude things like, we don't do that pagan stuff. No, you may not give that to my kids. Not only does that destroy your testimony, but that destroys your relationship with your mother. or your aunt, your uncle, your friend. Do you really want to do that? Is that really what Adonai wants us to do? Does he want us to destroy relationships? No, he does not. Just because you're accepting a gift does not mean that you are participating in Halloween or Christmas. Now, here's the thing. If you accept a gift that is truly pagan, like let's say, for example, during Halloween, your aunt or your friend gives one of your kids a demon, right? A little doll that looks like a demon. That does not mean you have to keep it. Honestly, here's what I would do. Thank you. I appreciate you going out of your way to do things for my family. You take the gift, you walk away. Don't show that you are completely appalled, okay? In this instance, it is a really good idea to have self-control and keep your emotions in check. Because the more emotional you get, I'm telling you right now, people will respond to that in a negative way. If it's a negative emotion, that is. If it's happy, then that's different. But we're talking about something else here. Angry emotion, disgust, don't show those, okay? You have to remember that they are totally different mentally, totally different. They do not understand these things, and they're not going to, especially if you treat them like they're stupid. They will not understand. They will do the opposite. You know how I know that? I've done it. I remember people when I was young trying to explain things to me that were truly biblical, that went against what I believed, and they talked to me like I was a total nut job. Every single time, I responded negatively to that. And because they acted and they treated the way that they did, they treated me the way that they did, my immediate response was, just because you treated me like that, I am not going to accept it. And I have found time and time again, that is how everybody responds. Everybody. I still will respond in that way when people treat me like I'm an idiot. That's human nature. You know who can change their minds? The Father can. Our Father is the one who can change their minds. And you being kind to them, accepting a gift, will make them think more than treating them like nut jobs. And walking away and praying, Father, please redeem them. Please show them the truth, because he will. And he will reward you. However, if you do the opposite and you destroy your testimony and you treat people like they're jerks because they don't believe the way that you do, God's not going to be happy with that. You will find yourself standing before him and him pointing his finger at you saying, how dare you? Because of what you said and what you did, that person was not saved. You got in the way. I don't know about you, but I do not want to end up in that situation. So think about your actions. Question number 2. How do I respond to somebody who asks me or my kids, what are you doing for Halloween? Or what are you doing for Christmas? Yeah, this is a fun one. Especially when you're at the checkout line and you're with your kids and the cashier out of the blue says, oh, are you excited to get all dressed up for Halloween? Or are you excited to see Santa Claus? Did you get any pictures with Santa Claus? Are you ready to open your gifts for Christmas? I'm gonna tell you right now, I hate it when people I don't know ask my kids what they're doing for Halloween or Christmas. I hate that. It's because you can't, that's kind of a hard situation because kids are kids and they're gonna say some really ridiculous things like, we don't do that devil worship. Oh my goodness, that's a little bit tricky. You know, you really kind of got to train your kids ahead of time, and it could take a while, especially if your kids are older, you know? So, you don't want to be so controlling over your children that they don't want to accept this way of life. You want to give them some space to make, to speak whatever and learn from their consequences. But here's what how I've trained my children. I have told them time and again that strangers do not need to know our business. And there are certain ways that they can answer without sounding rude, without sounding crazy, without really answering their questions. Here's an example. When it comes to Halloween, the way I instructed my kids, or if somebody asks me, what are you guys doing for Halloween? What are you going to be dressing up as? Then I've told them we don't really observe we don't observe Halloween because Halloween represents death, and we prefer to celebrate life. So we actually celebrate a different holiday called Purim, and that's when we get dressed up and we hand out candies, but it's a celebration of life and how God saved his people. And so that's how I've instructed my children to respond to people asking what you do for Halloween, or if you're going to get dressed up for Halloween. Instead of saying, oh, we don't do Halloween, that's devil worship, and we will lock ourselves inside the house and shut all the windows, and they don't need to know all of that. That's none of their business. It's okay to be private. It's okay to give them the bare minimum. That's okay. Now, when it comes to Christmas, quite often the same questions I get are, what are you getting for your children for Christmas? Or have you taken pictures with your children with Santa Claus? Or do you tell your kids that Santa Claus is real? The whole Santa Claus is real thing is actually pretty easy for me. I flat out will tell them, no, we don't actually do that. I can't really bring myself to lying to my children. And I've seen many of my friends literally crushed when they found out their parents had lied to them, and that they now can't really trust them. They have to rebuild that trust. But I'm not rude about it, okay? Like, I've seen people say, no, we don't do that. It's lying to our children. We're not going to tell them about a being that doesn't even exist. You see the difference in the way that I'm saying that? It's condescending and treating people like they're stupid. And that's just not okay. But when you say it in a way that is kind and courteous and simply, you do what you do and I do what I do, and that's okay. Them celebrating Christmas, them celebrating Christmas isn't really hurting us. I mean, I can see how it is bothersome because it does kind of grieve our spirits, but that is an affront to God. That's not our offense. That's God's offense. And he can handle himself. Trust me. He's a big boy. He's a big man. He's a big being. He can handle it. He can handle the heat. We don't need to take on his offense. Now, when it comes to my kids, what I have instructed them to do is when somebody asks them, are you excited for Christmas? Then I've told them, oh, we actually celebrate Hanukkah. I try to make it as positive as possible. I don't like to put in there no, or we don't do that, because those are all negative words. Excuse me. So by removing the no or don't, those negative connotations, it makes it kind of hard for people to respond in a way that makes them offended. When you keep it positive, it kind of removes the emotion, and it makes, they do their thing, I do my thing, whatever you do, I'm not going to judge you, I don't condemn you. Your attitude matters. The way you say things, your attitude, your body language, that all matters, because you will communicate to people in one way. No matter what you say, you can communicate to people in a way that is detrimental to them. But you can also communicate to people through your body language and your attitude and the way you say things that removes you and it keeps it positive, and it's not detrimental to them. They don't get offended. They're kind of like, they might be like, what? Oh, okay. But it's going to make them think. In a way, it actually plants seeds in their minds so that they'll think later, I wonder why they do that. Maybe they'll even go look it up. You just never know. You are constantly being watched. So pay attention to what you're doing. Think ahead of time. Think of your actions. If you respond in a way that is rude, unkind, that is the opposite of what the fruits of the Spirit are, then there are some things you need to work on in here. Maybe you're bitter, you have unforgiveness. I don't know, possibly there's something that happened to you years ago, or something that you did years ago that you forgot about, that God wants you to repent from. And there are things that have been done to us that cause us to respond negatively. And you got to do your digging by asking God, why do I act like this? And how do I fix it? You know how I know? I've had to do that. And it's a lifelong journey because people hurt us constantly. And just because you're a believer does not mean that the others who are believers are not going to hurt you. In fact, I've found that they hurt more than the people in the world. Why? Because we are so close to each other. We're like family. And so when things happen, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, it hurts. It hurts. So we have to constantly be looking inside of ourselves. I found, for the most part, the reason people respond emotionally in a negative emotional context is because they're dealing with things that they don't even know are there, that has something to do with unforgiveness, bitterness, something. So you got to be doing your digging. If you are responding in that way, then ask God, why do I act like this? And how do I fix it? He'll lead you there. And you know what? Don't expect it to happen overnight. It's not going to. I've also found that the more traumatized somebody is, the more they respond in a hateful way, and the longer it does take to heal that. But you've got to take that into your own hands. You've got to be active. You can't just sit around hoping that it'll change. You've got to work on yourself. So moving on. I hope you guys are enjoying this video so far. I wanted to share with you my newest creation that I'm super proud of, and I spent a lot of time making. This, hope you can see that, it's a little bit shiny. This is a Hanukkah card that I created myself. Hag Hanukkah Sameach is what that says. It means Happy Hanukkah, if you don't know yet. So this is the outside. This is what the inside looks like. There you go. And you can customize the inside, meaning you can change the wording, you can add your name. I can take all of that out if you like. I will have a link in the description below to my Etsy shop so that you can go ahead and grab that and order it. It is a printable. You will not receive anything from me. You will have to print it up and cut it down and fold it as needed. Okay? If you do order it, I hope you enjoy it. By the way, there are instructions on how to print this. And if you really want the full effect, I highly recommend you print them on pearl metallic card stock. Really makes a big difference. It makes it shiny and it's just gorgeous. So go ahead and order that. Now here's for the rest of the video. Enjoy. So question number 3. What do you say to people when they ask, why don't you celebrate Jesus' birthday? And this is actually kind of a fun one. I've gotten this a lot. People automatically assume that, especially people from the church, that we just don't celebrate Jesus' birthday. Now, there are those who believe that birthdays are pagan, and I'm not going to get into that. I'll probably do another video on that later. I see nothing wrong with celebrating life. Somebody who was born on a certain day and celebrating their life, I don't see anything wrong with that. I do believe that the pagans have actually hijacked the birthday and they added their own thing, and they did. This is quite often what the pagans will do. They will take something symbolic, they'll take something good, and they'll corrupt it. And they don't know what they're doing. They think that that's a good thing. And that's, that's their thing. Just, remove yourself from that and worry about you. Now, Yeshua's birthday. In my video about Sukkot, if you haven't seen that yet, go and watch it, because we believe that Yeshua was actually born during Sukkot. And so that is when we will celebrate his birth. Hanukkah's different. I mean, I suppose you could celebrate his birth during that time as well. Actually, it'd be more like celebrating his conception, because more than likely he was conceived during Hanukkah. And that's kind of interesting because it's the Festival of Lights. So how do you explain that to somebody? It's really hard. I mean, when you're out there and strangers are asking you these questions, if it's your family, it's different. But if strangers are asking you these questions, you don't have like gobs of time to just unload all this stuff on them. And you don't know where their maturity level is. So if you give them too much, you're going to make their heads explode. And that's totally counterproductive. You don't want that. So if it's just a total stranger, you just tell them, well, we actually do celebrate his birth, but we celebrate his birth when he was probably actually born instead of during December, which, he would have froze to death in a manger during December when it's freezing cold temperatures outside. I mean, that's probably, that's the most general. I keep it as general as possible. If they keep asking me questions and I have time and I'm not trying to get through a cash, checkout line, then I'll keep answering. But, if I'm in a hurry or the other person's in a hurry and I can tell that they're really just asking questions just to be cordial, I just keep it as minimal as possible. If you're dealing with family or friends, you have to kind of gauge their attitudes. You have to gauge their understanding level, because everybody's on a different level understanding wise. So when you look at children, right, in the family, you've got mom and dad, who are the most mature, I hope. And then you got the children, and the children are anywhere from newborns who cannot handle meat. They can't even handle baby food. It's all about milk. They poop and they pee on themselves. They cry a lot. They're extremely immature, right? You do not want to try giving meat of the word to someone like that, right? So in that case, you also want to keep it as general as possible. Don't word vomit on them everything you know from the word. Don't do that. Somebody who's more mature, and the way that you kind of figure out if they're more mature and can handle that, well, first of all, you need to be able to hear God's voice. If you don't hear his voice, you're not ready to gauge that, and therefore I would suggest you keep it general all the time. Because if God's trying to tell you this person's not ready for that information and you can't hear his voice telling you that, that's not really a good thing. So first things first, you need to be able to hear God's voice and know, because there will be times where he says, yes, I want you to tell them, and other times, no, you better keep your mouth shut. So you keep it general and you try and get out of that situation as fast as you can. Change the subject if you have to. So you got to gauge. Also, you got to kind of figure out their attitude. A lot of times I've found people will ask questions they don't really want to know the answer to. And, you got to kind of feel them out. What is the situation? How are they asking you the question? Do they have a bad attitude when they ask the question? If they do, you got to take all these things into consideration. If somebody has a bad attitude and they're asking you a question, especially if they're doing it in front of other people because they want to make you look like an idiot, there's no point in answering the question. You're just going to make yourself look dumb. And not only that, if you answer the question and they find themselves in a pickle to where they know you're right, but they become angry, that's not a good situation either. especially if there are other people there. So we need to keep the peace. And if you feel that there's spiritual tension in the air, just keep it general. Try and change the subject. Otherwise, if somebody's asking you a question and you can tell they truly want to know the truth, and you can tell, you have to pay attention. You have to be listening too, not just talking. If you can tell that they truly want to know the truth, then that is the time to talk. And I found that the best situation for that is when there isn't really anybody else around. If it's just a one-on-one situation, because if there are other people around, you're going to get interrupted, and it's going to throw the whole thing off. So like I said, you just constantly need to be gauging every situation. I would highly recommend that you just become more and more aware of your surroundings, and definitely learn how to practice his presence. And I'll get to that in another video, but right now this is it. That's what I have for you. Oops, my bad. As I'm editing this video, I realized I actually missed something that I'm pretty sure you guys would want to know how to respond to as well. And that would be, what do I do what do I say when somebody wishes me Happy Halloween or Merry Christmas? This one is actually pretty simple. Again, you don't need to be rude or anything. You just say thank you. You don't have to say Merry Christmas. You don't have to say Happy Halloween. Just say thank you. I hope you have a good day, because really it is just another day. And just remember, these people who are saying these things are saying them out of kindness. They're not saying it to be a jerk to you, unless they know what your beliefs are and they truly want to offend you, which is rare. I've never actually experienced somebody saying that to me just to be rude. If they are, you can tell. You can tell when they're being like that, and you just ignore them. That's it. Very simple. That's how I would respond in these different situations. So I hope that helps you guys out. If you guys have any advice on this, anything that you've experienced that you would like to share, then let us know in the comments. But please keep it nice, okay? Let's be nice to each other, and don't be rude. Let's be kind. We need to show the world, especially in public forums like YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else, Instagram. If it's a public forum, we need to be kind to each other, or else we're just looking like idiots to the world, and it's no wonder they hate us, right? So let's be nice, okay? Love you guys. Mwah, 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 mwah. We love you. Have a great day, and have a great Hanukkah. Bye-bye.